You already know what you should do. That is the quiet truth most people avoid. You know when you are wasting time. You know when you are choosing comfort over growth. You know when your habits are weakening you. You know when you are letting distraction pull you away from the person you said you wanted to become. And this is what makes self-discipline painful. It is not painful because you lack information. It is painful because some part of you knows the truth and another part of you keeps negotiating with weakness. You wake up with intention, but the day slowly pulls you apart. You promise yourself that this time will be different, but a small excuse enters the mind. Then another, then another. You tell yourself you will begin later. You tell yourself you need the right mood. You tell yourself you deserve comfort because life has been difficult. You tell yourself one lost day does not matter. And maybe one lost day does not destroy a life, but the habit of abandoning yourself does. That is where discipline begins, not in punishment, not in anger, not in some harsh hatred of who you are. Discipline begins in the moment you realize that every time you break your own word, you weaken the trust between you and yourself. A man who cannot trust himself is easy to move. The world moves him. His mood moves him. His cravings move him. Other people's opinions move him. Tiredness moves him. Fear moves him. The desire to be comfortable moves him. The hunger to be approved of moves him. He may speak of dreams, but his impulses govern the throne. The Stoics understood this deeply. They did not see discipline as a way to appear impressive. They saw it as a way to become free, because the undisciplined person is not free. He is ruled by whatever desire happens to be strongest in the moment. He may think he is choosing pleasure, but often he is only obeying impulse. He may think he is avoiding discomfort, but often he is training himself to fear discomfort. He may think he is protecting his peace, but often he is only running from the very thing that would make him stronger. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "At dawn, when you have trouble getting out of bed, tell yourself, 'I have to go to work,' as a human being." This is not merely advice about waking up early. It is a reminder that life has placed a duty before you. You were not born only to drift, consume, complain, compare, and be carried by whatever feeling appears first. You were born with reason, with will, with conscience, with the ability to examine yourself, with the power to choose your response, with the capacity to become better than your first instinct. And every morning asks the same question. Will you live as a servant of comfort, or will you live as a servant of character? Most people think self-discipline begins with intensity. They imagine some dramatic transformation, a sudden fire that makes them unstoppable. But true discipline is usually quieter than that. It begins when you stop waiting to feel inspired and start honoring what must be done. The first Stoic principle for building self-discipline is to choose your duty before the world chooses your distractions. If you do not decide what matters, the world will decide for you. It will fill your mind with noise. It will convince you that urgency is the same as importance. It will pull your attention toward comparison, entertainment, worry, resentment, and the endless pressure to appear as if your life is under control. But duty cuts through the noise. Duty asks a sharper question. What is actually yours to do? Not what would make you look important. Not what would impress strangers. Not what would give you a temporary feeling of progress. Not what would allow you to escape the discomfort of your own mind. What is yours to do? This question brings a man back to the ground beneath his feet. Maybe your duty today is to work when you do not feel like working. Maybe it is to train your body when comfort asks you to remain soft. Maybe it is to speak honestly. Maybe it is to apologize. Maybe it is to remain silent. Maybe it is to protect your mind from people who constantly disturb it. Maybe it is to finish the task you keep avoiding. Maybe it is simply to keep one promise to yourself. Duty does not always feel glorious. Sometimes duty feels ordinary. But the ordinary is where character is built. A man who only acts when he feels powerful will never become powerful. His life will be controlled by weather. When the inner sky is clear, he moves. When the inner sky is dark, he stops. But the disciplined man learns to move with principle, not mood. He understands that a meaningful life cannot be built only on days when the mind feels light. So he chooses before the temptation arrives. He decides what matters while he is still clear. He gives the day a command before the day gives him an excuse. That is why the second Stoic principle is to make fewer promises, but keep the ones you make. Many people destroy their discipline by declaring too much. They make great speeches to themselves. They imagine a completely new life. They promise perfection. They promise that from now on, nothing will stop them. But the mind does not trust dramatic promises for long. It trusts evidence. Every kept promise becomes evidence. Every completed task becomes evidence. Every morning you rise when you said you would rise becomes evidence. Every time you choose restraint over impulse, your mind quietly records it. Every time you finish what you began, your self-respect grows less fragile. This is how confidence is built. Not by telling yourself you are strong, by proving you can be trusted. Do not begin with a mountain if you cannot lift a stone. Begin with one act, one task, 1 hour, one boundary, one choice, one promise that is small enough to keep, but meaningful enough to matter. The undisciplined man loves intensity because intensity allows him to feel changed before he has actually changed. He can dream for an hour and feel as if he has lived differently. He can plan for a week and feel as if he has become serious. He can speak about discipline and feel strong for a moment. But discipline is not proven by what you announce. It is proven by what you repeat. The third Stoic principle is to show up when the feeling is gone. This is where most people break. They begin with emotion. They are excited by the image of the person they could become. They feel the fire. They feel the possibility. They imagine themselves stronger, calmer, more respected, more in control. And for a few days, maybe even a few weeks, they move with energy. Then the feeling fades. The work becomes ordinary. The results do not arrive quickly. The world does not applaud. The body gets tired. The mind gets bored. Old habits return with familiar voices. The person begins to think, maybe this is not working. Maybe I chose the wrong path. Maybe I need something new. But often the path is not wrong. The expectation is wrong. You expected transformation to feel dramatic. But most transformation feels repetitive. The same task, the same resistance, the same decision, the same return, the same quiet refusal to quit, simply because the mind has become restless. This is why consistency is more powerful than emotion. Emotion begins. Consistency builds. Emotion gives you a glimpse. Consistency gives you a life. There is nothing small about showing up when no one sees it. There is nothing small about doing the work when your mood offers no reward. There is nothing small about returning to the path after failure. There is nothing small about refusing to let one weak day become a weak identity. The world often praises the visible moment, the victory, the recognition, the result. But Stoicism turns your attention toward the invisible moments that made the result possible. The moment you wanted to quit and did one more honest action. The moment you wanted to complain and chose responsibility. The moment you wanted pleasure and chose patience. The moment you wanted to defend your ego and chose silence. The moment you wanted to delay and chose to begin. These are the moments where discipline is forged. The fourth Stoic principle is to train yourself before life forces the training upon you. Comfort is not evil, but constant comfort weakens the soul. If every desire must be satisfied immediately, desire becomes your master. If every inconvenience makes you angry, inconvenience governs your peace. If every discomfort feels unbearable, then life itself becomes a threat, because life will not remain comfortable forever. The Stoics practiced voluntary hardship, not because they hated life, but because they understood life. They knew that fortune changes, health changes, money changes, relationships change, circumstances change. The body ages, plans fail, people leave, seasons turn. What you depend on today may not be available tomorrow, so the disciplined person occasionally steps into discomfort by choice, so he is not shattered when discomfort arrives by force. He wakes before he wants to. He does the difficult task first. He trains when the body asks for ease. He eats with restraint. He practices silence. He spends less than he could. He chooses simplicity. He lets himself feel inconvenience without turning it into suffering. This is not punishment. It is preparation. Every voluntary discomfort teaches the mind, I can endure more than my impulses claim. It teaches you that hunger is not an emergency. Tiredness is not a command. Boredom is not a reason to surrender. Criticism is not death. Discomfort is not defeat. A person who has never practiced discomfort becomes afraid of the smallest resistance. But a person who has trained discomfort begins to carry a quiet strength. He knows that he can remain steady when life becomes harder. He knows that his peace does not depend on perfect conditions. He knows that even if comfort is removed, character can remain. This is why discipline makes you difficult to break. Not because you become immune to pain, but because pain no longer surprises you as much. You have met it before in smaller forms. You have trained under its shadow. You have learned that the mind can remain upright even when the body or the world is uncomfortable. The fifth Stoic principle is to separate what is yours from what is not yours. Without this, discipline becomes scattered. You will waste energy trying to control outcomes, opinions, delays, other people's choices, the past, the future, and every uncertain movement of life. You will become exhausted not because you worked hard, but because your effort was thrown at things no human being can fully command. Epictetus taught that some things are up to us and some things are not. This is one of the foundations of Stoic discipline. What is yours? Your judgment, your effort, your intention, your response, your discipline, your honesty, your courage, your attention, your willingness to do what is right. What is not fully yours? The outcome, the praise, the timing, the approval, the behavior of others, the final result, the way people interpret your actions, the events that life places before you. The undisciplined mind keeps trying to rule both kingdoms. It wants full control over effort and outcome, action and reaction, choice and consequence, self and world. Because of this, it becomes frustrated constantly. It ties peace to things it cannot hold. The disciplined mind does something different. It narrows its kingdom. It says, "I will command what is mine. I will meet what is not mine with dignity." This is not weakness. This is efficiency of the soul. A man who knows what is his to control becomes powerful because his energy is no longer leaking into useless resistance. He can work hard without being destroyed by delay. He can love without trying to possess. He can pursue excellence without depending on applause. He can correct himself without drowning in shame. He can fail without becoming failure. When something happens, he asks, "Where is my part?" Not, "Why did this happen to me?" Not, "Who can I blame?" Not, "How do I force the world to make me comfortable again?" Where is my part? That question returns discipline to the present. Maybe your part is to act. Maybe your part is to wait. Maybe your part is to learn. Maybe your part is to endure. Maybe your part is to walk away. Maybe your part is to accept reality and stop arguing with what cannot be changed. But there is always some part that belongs to you, and that is where your power lives. The sixth Stoic principle is to refuse the comfort of victimhood. This is difficult because victimhood can feel justified. Sometimes life is unfair. Sometimes people do wrong. Sometimes you are misunderstood. Sometimes you carry burdens you did not choose. Sometimes you pay for mistakes that were not entirely yours. Sometimes the road is harder than it should be. Stoicism does not ask you to deny this. It asks you not to build your identity around it. There is a difference between being hurt and becoming the wound. There is a difference between acknowledging injustice and making helplessness your home. There is a difference between saying, "This happened," and saying, "Because this happened, I no longer have responsibility for who I become." The victim mindset is tempting because it releases you from the weight of action. It says, you do not have to rise because you were pushed down. It says, you do not have to grow because you were harmed. It says, you do not have to change because someone else was wrong. It says, your bitterness is proof of your depth. But bitterness does not rebuild a life. Responsibility does. The disciplined person does not waste his suffering. He takes what happened and asks how it can be transformed into wisdom, strength, compassion, boundaries, and clearer vision. He does not pretend pain is good. He simply refuses to let pain be useless. This is one of the most powerful forms of self-discipline. To stop telling the story in a way that makes you powerless. To stop rehearsing the injury when the lesson has already been received. To stop using yesterday's pain as permission to abandon today's duty. To stop waiting for the world to apologize before you begin again. A man becomes stronger the moment he says, "Even here, I still have a choice." Maybe not every choice. Maybe not the choice you wanted, but a choice. A choice in response. A choice in meaning. A choice in conduct. A choice in whether this makes you smaller or deeper. The seventh Stoic principle is to master desire through delay. Much of modern weakness is built on immediacy. Immediate comfort, immediate pleasure, immediate escape, immediate reaction, immediate validation, immediate distraction, immediate relief from any inattention. But the soul does not become strong by obeying every immediate desire. It becomes strong by learning which desires deserve command and which desires deserve denial. Delayed gratification is not the hatred of pleasure. It is the wisdom to place pleasure in its proper rank. Pleasure is not meant to rule life. It is meant to visit it. When pleasure becomes king, discipline dies. The person who cannot delay pleasure cannot build anything meaningful, because everything meaningful requires a season where the reward is not yet visible. A strong body requires repeated effort before visible change. A clear mind requires restraint before peace appears. A worthy craft requires practice before mastery. A stable life requires choices that may feel boring today, but freeing tomorrow. If you need every effort to reward you immediately, you will quit almost everything that matters. The disciplined man learns to say, "Not now," not because he hates himself, because he respects what he is building. He can enjoy rest, but he does not worship ease. He can enjoy food, but he does not let appetite own him. He can enjoy recognition, but he does not become addicted to being seen. He can enjoy success, but he does not sell his character for it. He understands that every desire makes an offer. Comfort says, "Choose me now and forget the future." Discipline says, "Choose what is harder now and become freer later." The choice is repeated every day, and the person you become is the result of which voice you obey more often. The 8th Stoic principle is to guard your mind from the wrong voices. You cannot build discipline while giving equal access to every opinion. Some voices strengthen you, some weaken you. Some correct you with truth, some infect you with doubt. Some criticism is useful, some criticism is only noise wearing the mask of wisdom. The Stoic does not ignore all feedback. He examines it. He asks, "Is this true? Is this useful? Does this come from someone wise? Does this align with virtue? Is this correction? Or is this merely another person's insecurity trying to enter my mind?" This distinction is essential, because if you are ruled by every voice, you will lose your own. A person trying to build a disciplined life must be careful with his attention. Attention is not a small thing. Attention is the gate to the inner world. What enters repeatedly begins to shape judgment. What shapes judgment begins to shape action. What shapes action eventually shapes destiny. So guard the gate. Do not let every naysayer become a counselor. Do not let every doubter become a prophet. Do not let every jealous person become a judge. Do not let every loud voice become truth. There will be people who misunderstand your discipline because your change threatens their comfort. There will be people who mock your seriousness because they have made peace with their own excuses. There will be people who call your boundaries arrogance because they benefited from your lack of boundaries. There will be people who tell you to relax when you are finally becoming focused. Listen carefully. Then return to reason. The disciplined person is not stubborn in the foolish sense. He can learn. He can be corrected. He can admit when he is wrong. But he does not hand his direction to people who have not earned that authority. This is why solitude matters. Not isolation, solitude. You need silence where your own conscience can speak. You need distance from noise, so you can hear whether your life is aligned or scattered. You need time away from the crowd, so your values can become clear again. The 9th Stoic principle is to choose models worthy of imitation. No person becomes disciplined in a vacuum. Even the strongest minds are shaped by examples. Marcus Aurelius began his meditations by reflecting on what he learned from those around him. He noticed the patience of one person, the simplicity of another, the justice of another, the discipline of another. He studied virtue wherever he found it. This is wisdom. A foolish person envies greatness. A wise person studies it. When you see someone who has the discipline you lack, do not merely admire them. Ask what they repeat that you avoid. Ask what they refuse that you keep accepting. Ask what standards they live by when no one is watching. Ask what they have sacrificed to become steady. Emulation is not copying another person's life. It is borrowing light for your own path. You look at the person who carries himself with calm and you ask, what would it take to cultivate that steadiness? You look at the person who keeps his word and you ask, where do I keep betraying mine? You look at the person who remains disciplined under pressure and you ask, what habits support that strength? You look at the person who is not easily moved by praise or criticism and you ask, what has he placed at the center of his life? The people you admire reveal the qualities your soul is calling you to develop. But be careful. Do not choose false idols. Do not imitate people only because they are visible, wealthy, attractive, loud, or praised by the crowd. Many people appear powerful while being inwardly enslaved. Many appear successful while being ruled by appetite, vanity, resentment, and fear. Many appear disciplined in one area while their character collapses in another. Choose models by virtue, not appearance. Wisdom, courage, justice, temperance. Look for those who live with restraint, those who tell the truth, those who remain calm under pressure, those who use strength without cruelty, those who work without constant display, those who carry pain without poisoning everyone around them, those who have standards and live by them. Surround your mind with examples that make excuses feel unworthy. The 10th Stoic principle is to review your day without lying to yourself. Self-discipline cannot grow where self-deception rules. At the end of each day, the undisciplined person wants escape. He wants distraction from the discomfort of seeing himself clearly. He wants to forget the promises he broke. He wants to avoid the question of whether he lived with courage or drifted through another day. But the Stoic returns to the mirror, not to shame himself, to learn. This distinction matters. Honest review is not self-hatred, it is self-respect. You sit quietly and ask, where did I act with discipline today? Where did I let impulse rule? Where did I waste energy on what I cannot control? Where did I choose comfort over duty? Where did I act from fear? Where did I protect my peace? Where did I fail? What must be corrected tomorrow? These questions are not meant to crush you. They are meant to wake you. A day reviewed honestly becomes a teacher. A mistake examined calmly becomes material for wisdom. A weakness admitted directly becomes less powerful. But a day ignored is easily repeated. A weakness denied becomes a pattern. A mistake excused becomes character. This is why daily reflection is one of the most powerful practices for discipline. It closes the gap between the person you imagine yourself to be and the person your actions reveal. Most people live inside imagination. They imagine they are serious. They imagine they are disciplined. They imagine they are close to changing. They imagine they would act with courage if the moment demanded it. But the daily review asks for evidence. What did you actually do? How did you actually respond? Where did your attention actually go? What did your choices actually serve? This can be uncomfortable. But discomfort in the presence of truth is sacred. It is the beginning of freedom, because once you stop lying to yourself, you can finally begin rebuilding yourself. And when you review your day, do not only search for failure, search for progress. Notice where you were stronger than before. Notice where you paused instead of reacting. Notice where you returned after drifting. Notice where you kept a promise, even a small one. Notice where discipline appeared quietly. Acknowledge it. Let the mind learn that strength is possible. Then release the day. Do not carry every failure into the morning like a chain. Learn from it, correct what must be corrected, and sleep as a student preparing to rise again. This is the final truth about Stoic discipline. It is not built in a single heroic moment. It is built through return. You will fall out of rhythm. Return. You will waste time. Return. You will be tempted by comfort. Return. You will feel discouraged. Return. You will compare yourself to others. Return. You will have days where the old self speaks loudly. Return. Discipline is not the absence of failure. It is the refusal to make failure your home. Every return strengthens the path. Every return teaches the mind that weakness is not final. Every return proves that you are no longer waiting for life to become easy before you become serious. This is how the Stoic builds himself. He chooses duty before distraction. He keeps promises to himself. He shows up when the feeling is gone. He practices discomfort before life demands it. He separates what is his from what is not. He refuses to become a victim of circumstance. He delays pleasure for a greater freedom. He guards his mind from useless noise. He studies the wise. He reviews the day with honesty. And then he returns. Again and again. Until discipline is no longer something he tries to perform. It becomes the shape of his character. This is the deeper reward, not applause, not the image of strength, not the approval of others, but the quiet knowledge that you are no longer at war with yourself. You said you would rise, and you rose. You said you would work, and you worked. You said you would stop giving power to every impulse, and slowly you did. You said you would become better, and day by day, choice by choice, return by return, you began to become someone you could respect. That is self-discipline. It is self-respect made visible. It is freedom earned through restraint. It is peace protected by standards. It is character built when no one is watching. So tomorrow morning, when comfort speaks, do not argue with it for long. Stand up. Do the work of a human being. Do the work of someone who remembers that time is short, character is urgent, and the soul cannot be strengthened by excuses. You do not need to become perfect today. You only need to stop abandoning yourself. Choose the next right action. Keep one promise. Guard 1 hour. Endure one discomfort. Reject one excuse. Return one more time. And with every return, you will become harder to move, harder to corrupt, harder to discourage, harder to defeat. Not loud, not arrogant, not restless, but steady, disciplined, clear, free. Like the mountain, you will still feel the storm, but you will no longer be carried away by it. You will stand. And in that standing, you will remember who you were meant to become.